Prairie wool was a grass that grew here in the early days before the prairie was broken up. And so that's what it was. It was prairie wool.
Today we are going to see how the lovely weavers do their art.
What we're doing here is teasing. This is a fleece that's been washed, and what we're doing is teasing it, and that means we're just getting the fibers lined up a little bit and taking the knots out of it, and that makes it easier when it comes time to carding.
Okay, what we're doing here is carding the fleece. It's been teased there, and then Mary runs it through this machine that lines all the fibers up so that they can spin them. So this is going to come off in a big batch, and we'll hand it to the spinners, and they'll sort it and spin it.
In the bat, you split your bat into smaller pieces and just spin it. It's just called one ply. If you want it thicker than it is, you can put 2 or 3 ply together, however many you want to get the desired thickness.
And as soon as the girls get finished spinning and plying the wool, then I will put the wool on the shuttle and weave with the wool.
Well, the concept of the Weaving Guild emerged because there were about 3 people in the community who were spinners and weavers, and they were very interested in having other people learn how to do these things. So in March of 1977, the members that I can think of that were directly from Craik were June Axelby, and June incidentally is still a member now, Tina Kennedy, and Kate Waterhouse. They were the ones that were the main people to begin with, learning to spin and to weave, and they wove with wool, I believe, when they first started, as well as cotton and linen and other fibers.
I moved to Craik in 1974, and my neighbor was Kate Waterhouse, and she was very involved in weaving. The group hadn't become the Prairie Wool Weavers. The Prairie Wool Weavers hadn't become an organized group then, but she was always continuously after me to, try the weaving. And then Bev Overgewich got involved with weaving, and she is the one that finally convinced me in 2002 to become a member. So it took me many years to finally become a member of the Prairie Wool Weavers, and of course it's very enjoyable.
Well, why has the Guild lasted as long as it has? Well, I just think because we've all got common interests, and we still very much enjoy everything we're doing, and what the Guild started doing when they started out in 1977 is what we still do now, and we still enjoy it just as much.
The Prairie Wool Weavers has members from many places other than Craik. Craik's sort of the central point, but we have members coming from Regina, Saskatoon, Elbow, Craven, Davidson, and Bladworth.
Well, qualifications, there really aren't any. I think probably what gets people interested to start with is to be an interest in weaving. But the fun and the camaraderie. Camaraderie, thank you. I'm not going to start again.
Yeah, I think the fun aspect is what keeps us going. Plus, there's always something new to learn. It doesn't matter how much you weave. There's always a new technique or a new material, a new pattern. There's always something new that you can learn.
I think the Guild has survived so long because there's been so many active people interested in making garments, various different projects, and it's more fun than work.
One thing that draws us to the Guild, I think most of us had a background in crafts, sewing, maybe fabric, knitting, crocheting, making things, and this is another projection of that. And everybody's got a really goofy sense of humor, and that really helps too.
Well, flour pounding was one of our activities that we did, actually a couple of different afternoons at our meetings. What you do is you treat some 100% cotton. Then you go out and you pick flowers from your garden and you pound the flowers onto the fabric. And then you have to steam press it with some heat and everything. And then you have a picture of a flower with the actual color of the flower on it.
Yes, we do try different techniques and different materials, sometimes on an individual basis, sometimes as a guild project. That hanging for the Eco Center was woven with hemp. The background was cotton with a hemp weft. This umbrella we call the Saskatchewan Sky Dome, and each panel was woven by a different member of the guild, and it's supposed to represent each person's favorite view of a summer sky. So we have a thunderstorm, we have a nice bright sun, clouds, sunsets, rainbow, and that's what we call the Saskatchewan Sky Dome. And it was woven for a provincial competition and has won several prizes, actually. It's rather a unique item.
This is the mug rug. This is my first project that I made, and we made it in an afternoon at Wilma's house. And it's got a fringe that you actually make on the loom, and then you do the different treadlings that makes the pattern within the garment or item. Yes, I was critiqued. She was worried about the salvage on both sides. So it's very... What?
Well done.
In Saskatchewan, there is a provincial guild, and there are 4 spinners and weaving groups in Saskatchewan, and they belong to a provincial group called Saskatchewan Spinners and Weavers Guild, and we belong to that.
The guild has been involved in a lot of different activities. We do workshops. Sometimes the workshops, one guild member will learn a technique and teach it to all the rest of us. Sometimes we'll bring in a teacher from somewhere else. We like doing demonstrations at the school, at things such as Fame, at different things that go on in the hall. Another group project that we did was when we wove a hanging for the hotel here in town. We kept all our extra supplies there. They lent us a room to use for our extra supplies, so we wanted to say thank you. So June went and stood at a corner outside of town and drew a picture of the Craik skyline. And then each of us wove, we divided it into, I think it was 8 panels, and 8 members each wove a different panel according to her drawing. So it was a tapestry weaving, and then they were hung side by side, these 8 panels. Unfortunately, that was destroyed when the hotel burnt down. It was one of the things that went with it.
The thing that attracted me to become a member of the guild is a new person in Craik. It was another avenue to meet people, and I love to make things, and I saw them doing a demonstration at the Eco Center, and I thought it would be really great to make something. And that's why I got involved.
Okay, this loom will do the same thing as this loom, except on a smaller scale. The threads will be wrapped around here, threaded through these wires, threaded through these slots, and tied on here. Then you can change the threads by lifting these in different combinations to get the pattern that you desire. This pattern would be made in this way.
Because some of these women have been involved for so many years, the Weavers has been successful, and they want everyone to keep, they want this craft or skill to continue. So they are the ones that continue to teach other people this skill so that it doesn't die.
How I learned to weave was that they do mentoring for you. So you either go to their house or they go to your house and help you put the warp on, and they teach you the entire process. And if you get into any trouble, they're just a phone call away, any one of them.
I think that the reason people want to be part of the guild, which is the rural guild, the only one in the province, is because of the founding members and the examples that they set and the willingness that they showed to share what they knew, and they knew how to have fun. And we all like that.
Yes, our guild has a president and a vice president and a treasurer and a secretary. We have someone that looks after courtesy, and we also have a person, we call her the keeper of the can, and that's Bev.
We have a fairly unstructured governorship for our club, but we do have a president and a chairman, but we tend to not be too good about voting and making motions and stuff. But we do have the can. I am the keeper of the can. I am very important. I am the keeper of the can. At every meeting, people who have brought show and tell get to put their name in this can, and at our annual meeting in March every year, we draw a name for a nice prize.
Okay, the Prairie Wool Weavers meet the first Monday of every month, and a lot of those first Mondays of the month are holiday Mondays, but we have our meeting anyway. We start at 10 o'clock in the morning. When we arrive, the hostess has coffee, tea, juice, and muffins or something for us. Then we start the business part of our meeting. We break about noon, depending on what else we have planned for the day, and we bring a lunch ourselves. So we have our lunch, and then we continue with the meeting after dinner. And most of the time, what we do in the afternoon is learn a new craft or a new skill, not necessarily to do with weaving or spinning, just something that someone has picked up and is willing to share with the group. And then before we go home, we get dessert. Yes, we're very fun-loving. And what is the phrase there? You don't have to be warped to weave, but it helps. So we're all a little bit just, off. Some way or the other. Looking for fun.
Well, for people like me who are totally non-athletic, it gives you somewhere else to go with your interests, something to do with your interests.
Well, most off I enjoy the meetings. Like I said, I wouldn't have missed a meeting for anything, because that's the most fun part of everything. Everybody, we know each other very well, and we have a lot of fun getting along together. Everybody brings weaving, and that's total inspiration. Once you see some weaving, you can't hardly wait to get home and get started on something. It's just very motivational.
I think the guild has survived through the decades because we have become friends with each other. We know each other. We're with each other in times of sorrow and in times of joy. We're willing to share what we know to help other people, the others get started. And there's no entrance exam.